Josephina Catherine Cunningham was only 3 years old when her life was wrongfully taken. Josephina was found deceased on July 7th of 2023 in her mother's apartment in Rensselaer, New York, after being strangled, beaten, and gone after by her mother's boyfriend, 34-year-old Robert Fisher. Stewart recalls seeing Josephina earlier in the evening on the night of the tragic event. Quote, "I went to my mom's house to get my keys. I left and then my mom did as well. Josephina was left in the care of Robert. When my mom came home, Josephina was sound asleep and breathing." Her brother Stewart noted that his mother went to bed following her check on Josephina, and it wasn't until the next morning that she and the rest of their family would find the toddler bruised and unresponsive. While commuting to work, he received a call from his aunt about his little sister's death. Quote, "I was on my way to work and I got a call from my aunt. She told me, 'Do you know how Josie died?' And then I took a lift over to my mother's home and I saw yellow tape outside and police standing in front of the house." That morning, as Josephina's family mourned her death, the boyfriend tried to clean up his mess. Stewart recalled Fisher sweeping, mopping, and using excessive amounts of bleach in an attempt to clear any evidence of the horrific act that he committed. Fisher was arrested that day and has been in police custody under protective care for the last year. On July 27th of this year, he pled guilty to his crimes and is now due to be sentenced on September 10th. Stewart noted that there's been talk of sentencing Fisher to a bid of 20 years to life. However, he feels that isn't severe enough of a punishment for the crime that he committed. Quote, "He needs to be sentenced to death, the death penalty." In 2007, they did away with the death penalty in the state of New York, but I want it to be reinstated. If it happens, I'm going to call it the Josie Act. Stewart explained that he's hoping to have the death penalty reinstated in New York, and if that were to happen, he would seek to reopen his sister's case to have Fisher sentenced to death. The young man refuses to let his little sister's story go untold, equating his actions to that of Mamie Till when she decided to have an open casket funeral for her son Emmett Till, his life taken at the age of 14 by several white men. Quote, "I believe my sister's story can cause a great awakening and bring this country to its knees in prayer." While the plethora of news outlets having already reported on the tragic event, he's determined to spread his story across the nation and hopefully onto the desk of local politicians. Quote, "I will not rest until I have achieved justice for Josie. This is just the beginning." As of September 10th, Robert Fisher was sentenced to 20 years to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 20 years. The man who was serving time for a violent crime and death of a 3-year-old child died in prison after serving just 1 month into his sentence. Robert Fisher, age 34, was sentenced to 20 years to life behind bars for the murder of 3-year-old Josephina Cunningham. He pled guilty to second-degree murder and to first-degree on July 9th of 2024. According to the Department of Corrections, Fisher was pronounced deceased just before 2 a.m. on October 22nd at the Elmira Correctional Facility. Requests for an autopsy report were denied by the Chemung County Health Department. When requests days after Fisher's death, the public health director responded, stating in an email, quote, "The Chemung County Health Department does administer the coroner's program for the county. We do not comment on cases, nor do we release autopsy reports." According to the heavily redacted incident report, Fisher was found unresponsive on his bed by a corrections officer at 1:27 a.m. on October 22nd. 3 minutes later, his cell door was opened with 4 officers entering. 1 minute later, another correction officer and a prison nurse arrived. More information listed in the report is redacted following the times of 1:34, 1:35, 1:37, 1:40, 1:43, 1:46, and 1:49. The report resumes with an ambulance crew arriving and taking over Fisher's care at 1:52 a.m. The time of 1:54 was redacted, and 1 minute later, Fisher was pronounced deceased by emergency room doctors, VIA, and EMS radio communications. The cause of death was listed in the report as unknown. Other aspects of the report redacted: personal information, potential medications list, any possible substance abuse history, and the list of medical encounters he may have had during the 2 weeks prior to his death. Another section of the report lists that Fisher was found unresponsive, redacted, on his bed, leaning against the wall. Redacted care was assumed by EMS. The only thing that I can say is, for at least this story, that justice was given. I know for the brother of the young girl that this may not have been how he wanted it to happen, right? He more than likely wanted to be there in the seat, front row, and he wanted to watch this take place, watch it happen, right? But at least in this way, justice was served, and nobody had to, in a sense, go to extenuating circumstances in order to see justice, in a sense, prevail. The prison system gave the justice that needed to be given, right? And the main thing that I tend to tell a lot of people is that the moment in time that anybody finds out that you did anything to a woman, you did anything to the elderly, you did anything to a child especially, and you go into that jail, you go into that prison, it is curtains for you. It is 100%. You are going to have the worst time that you will ever have in any situation known to man. You're going to meet Big Bubba and Big Ace at the same time. Choo choo. It's going to be over for you, buddy. It's going to be over directly for you. And like I said before, no telling what else, didn't happen directly to him. Because again, knowing the circumstances, knowing specifically what took place, knowing how these things transpire and happen. The other thing I also want to say is shout out to the brother for wanting to keep this alive, wanting to keep her name alive, have the situation completely out there so that everybody can know what happened and how specifically it happened. Because the main thing is that whenever somebody is given the blind trust, of protecting, of guardianship, of watching over, you never know who anybody is. And in this case, that was completely shown that, this was a wolf in sheep's clothing. The whole family thought that this guy was, pretty much sound and an okay person. And lo and behold, this is what he decided to do. And no telling how many times he's more than likely done this. This was just the instance that he was specifically caught. And like I said, my condolences to the young girl. My condolences. This is, like I said, children are the most valuable, the most precious beings that we have on this planet. They are the reason that adults can still argue and bicker and rah and all this other type of stuff, because we have new blood that is going to come in and basically replace us. No matter what stupid mistakes, no matter how stupid we decide to get an act, there's going to be consistent new blood in here to replace us, right? But the moment of time that stops, a lot of things are going to stop. That's when reality is going to set in for a lot of people directly out there. And last but not least is that, I hope that a lot of women will, listen to this story and will pay attention. And like I said, I'm not sure exactly how it is that you can vet, any of these guys directly out here. I'm not sure what it would be. I'm not sure if you can even take a psychologist or whatever it is. I'm not sure what would be the specific warning signs directly about that. But the only thing I can say for a lot of women out there is that hopefully you guys are very careful. because you have too many women out here that have kids and they decide that they want to, try to redate, or they want to re-enter the field and try to get a significant other because they feel, by themselves, because it's just them and their child, and they still want to experience love and caring and all of this other type of stuff. And the main thing that I tell a lot of women out here is what cost? What are you yourself willing to give up and to risk and to sacrifice in order to get what it is that you quote unquote desire? Not what you want specifically for that child, but what you want specifically for yourself as a woman. And is it really worth it at the end? But anyways, let me know what you guys think about this video and everything that I stated in the comment description below. And as always, peace, love, and stay tuned for the next video.